Good evening, and pardon me if I cough a bit. I've got a bad throat and a cough. Yeah. So once again, wonderful evening to all of you all. I understand it's been a nice, pleasant day, and what I'm going to share with you are my thoughts on Metaverse, and I'll also give you some examples that I picked up on how brands could live in the Metaverse world from the world of Unilever. Yeah, and I picked up some good examples from around the world. And in my capacity as a member of Unilever's executive board, I do get visibility to a lot of great examples around the world. So I thought I'll pick it just so that you can try to understand how things are being shaped in the new world. And with the changing digital future, marketing is evolving, business is evolving, and I come from a school of thought that Metaverse has got immense possibilities. Now, Neil Stephenson, about 30 years back, in his book Snow Crush, talked about Metaverse for the first time. And in many ways, we are at a junction now where you can dream about possibilities. If you were to just pause and go back to 2007, when the first iPhone was launched, who had thought that the power of computing, much powerful than a PC at that time, a camera, a mobile, an internet, all could be packed in a small device. But go forward to 15 years, I think it would be hard to believe a world that existed without a smartphone for many of us, if not most of us. So I think a decade from now, Metaverse could be in a similar situation. Are we there? Certainly not. But is there a possibility? A big time yes. So what I'm going to do is break my presentation into 4 sections. And I'll first begin with the mechanics that define Metaverse and its evolution so far, and also followed by what it means to our marketeers and the basic tenets that we will have to follow from a marketing perspective in the realm of Metaverse. Now, vast improvements in technology have taken place, and what is facilitating Metaverse is cloud services and connectivity, huge computing capacity, widespread availability of smartphones, and when you look at it from an axis of augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality, or what is also called as the extended reality, the headsets which enable you to be in that domain, this is something which is leading us towards the Metaverse. Now, Web 3.0, which is based on blockchain and decentralized internet, is going to be a big facilitator. That together with, I think, if we were to move towards 5G, that is going to bring about a kind of revolution we have not yet seen in the realm of Metaverse. Now, if someone were to ask in today's world to define Metaverse, and if someone were to say that Metaverse essentially means cyberspace, then I would say that in 90% of the case, you won't be wrong. But that's a very generic definition. Now, starting from one-way broadcast medium, if you go back to Internet 1.0, it was about URL and HTML. But Web 1.0 facilitated you to move amongst static pictures. The internet has evolved significantly, And Web 2.0 enables social networking, content creation, and in many ways, it's given birth to influencers. Now, Web 3.0, the critical difference is that it is a completely blank canvas. And it is co-owned. It is not something which is owned by one people. And consumers and the marketeers can define the experience. So we have evolved significantly from Web 1.0 to Web 3.0. Now, what makes Metaverse a virtual interconnected digital reality is what I've tried to define on this slide, and this could then seamlessly blend into with our real lives. Yeah, so you could have a person who is shy and introvert in real life, could be an exuberant extrovert in his virtual life. Yeah, so this is the kind of stark difference that could exist when you have virtual reality. Now, let me share how brands can move into Metaverse. Now, as more and more time we spend online, many people, like I said, have got very distinct real and virtual lives. Habits, routines, interests, experiences, many of them are moving into digital space. And so are relationships. Yeah, whether you agree with it or not, whether it is right or not, is a question that we need to answer separately. Now, Metaverse is co-owned and transformed, therefore it becomes a limitless possibility of creativity. That's the very big striking difference I want all of you all to be conscious about. Now, the virtual ecosystem is many ways replicate reality in all its virtually replicates reality in all aspects. Now, virtual self could be a replica, a clone of your real life identity, or it could be very different, or you could have virtual possessions through your avatars. Now, beyond digital avatars, it extends to also what we call the computer-generated imagery, CGIs, influencers, in-game characters, and collectibles like NFTs. Now, virtual spaces are where we entertain ourselves through games, by socializing, and where you consume content. Now, we are experimenting today with gamevertising, publisher partnerships, and brand-led narratives which we try to interweave into the gameplay. Then there are virtual lifestyles. There are very immersive opportunities through brand-sponsored metaverse, what you call as the immersive live experience, through any number of events, whether it is sporting events, exhibitions, fashion shows, or concerts. Yeah, I don't think it would be very far into the future when India's best fashion show, the Lakme fashion show, would be in the realm of metaverse. The other is the virtual communities. Create virtual groups of consumers, what we call as the DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations. Now, we would like a brand-sponsored DAOs to represent a brand purpose and not be very distinct or away from what the brand is in real life. And the brand communities, we would like them to experience our brand purpose through Metaverse. So the critical bit I'm also trying to make out to you, which I'll dwell a little bit more as we go along, that your brand identity and your brand purpose in real life and Metaverse can't be very different. Yeah? Otherwise, you would be losing your consumers. Now, I'm going to take a few examples, like I said. Yeah, first I'm going to, and these are brands you can relate to, but these experiences or the metaverse examples that I'm going to give are going to be from around the world. First is Sunsilk. Yeah, it's a great brand. It's a beauty brand, and it is dedicated to empowering young girls to pursue their dreams and something that they would like to do in Metaverse. The most important part of this was to have their virtual self being exposed to as many opportunities in the virtual Roblox Sunsilk world. Roblox is a platform, as they would in a real world. So it is a virtual world populated by relatable female characters in Sunsilk City. Now the virtual space, which has been created by Sunsilk and Roblox, was one where the girls could break stereotypes and through gameplay enter into the Sunsilk world, where they could run their business or take courses. Most importantly, the virtual lifestyle created in Roblox represents the brand purpose and experienced entrepreneurship through the Sunsilk House of Skills. And when it comes to the virtual community, it includes the branded modules and upskilling programs, including mentors for the leadership course who could extend into the real world. So just look at it. Sunsilk in the metaverse world is replicating what we try to do with Sunsilk in the real world. Now the potential for, or the promise for metaverse is immense. And as businesses experiment, as the brands experiment, we will be learning together. But there are certain basic principles, or what I would call as the first principles in building a metaverse. First is, you need to define why. Why do you want to be in metaverse? Just because it's a fad, or just because it is fashionable, don't get into it. Second is, be purposeful. The third is, you need to be authentic. And the fourth, very important, is how do you design for metaverse? So what I'm going to do is cover each of this as we go along. The first is for the marketeers to ask what good their brand will do in the metaverse and improve the virtual experiences for their consumers. For this, the brands need a reason to exist in the metaverse and be rooted in the genuine consumer need. Now, I'm going to talk about one great example, which is our brand Rexona, an antiperspirant brand. And here, I'll give you an example of a metathon, which is a marathon in a metaverse world, which has emerged from how do you put people first in your approach. Now, Rexona is a deo brand, right? An antiperspirant brand. It is one of the global leaders. Now, it believes in shaping an inclusive world, and it believes in giving more confidence to people. Rexona wanted to solve for the lack of diverse representation in metaverse. Plus-size people, people with disabilities, and people who identify themselves as non-binary were underrepresented in the metaverse world. So with its ability to create and innovate, Metaverse has the potential to break these barriers, break the stereotypes. And in a partnership with Decentraland, a browser-based 3D virtual reality, you can customize your avatar, and Rexona launched its first virtual marathon. Now this is called Metathon, and along with Paralympic medalist Blake Leeper and Grammy artist Fat Joe and panel of disability experts, we designed the wearables like plus-size avatars, running blades, and wheelchairs. So take a look. Yeah, just think of it. Breaking barriers, breaking stereotypes, but remaining true to what the brand stands for. So you can see very clearly how the why comes alive in this example. Yeah. The next important building block is you have to be purposeful. Now I can talk the whole evening about being purposeful. Being purposeful for corporations, companies, being purposeful for individuals. And I come from a school of thought that brands are a force for good. And brands have to go beyond just the functional benefits and make a difference to the society and the planet, right? So what I'm going to do now is talk about Hellmann's. Now, incidentally, Hellmann's is the world's best mayonnaise. And we have also launched in India. And if you guys want a great sandwich, I would suggest on your way home from a supermarket, pick up a bottle of mayonnaise. Tomorrow morning, you'll love your sandwich. That was my marketing spiel. Now, Hellmann's mission is obviously to inspire people to be more resourceful in the kitchens. And one of the things that we in the world today face is the question of food security. And more so in the developed world, but also in the value chain in India, we waste a huge amount of food. Now, take a look at it, how on Animal Crossing, unsold turnips that don't make it to the virtual marketplace get eventually spoiled and get disposed. Yeah, now look at it. Even in the virtual world, players could convert the food waste into real food for those in need through partnerships. Now again, the brand purpose, you could bring it together with the brand do by seamlessly moving from a metaverse to the physical world. The next point is about being authentic. And this is especially important in the metaverse where brands must represent their purpose virtually. Now I'm going to talk about another brand I love, which is Close Up. Now, what does Close Up stand for? Any of you? Sorry? Bringing smile, yes. Let's go a bit more deeper into it. First, what's the functional benefit? Freshness. Now some are getting it. Yeah? And then we move away from there. What else? Bringing people together. But at the essence, it's about freedom to love. That's what Close Up is about. Now, Close Up has always been a catalyst that brings people together and inspiring people to love freely away from any self-doubts and prejudices. But this is very often easier said than done. We know it in our country also. That's not always possible. And the freedom to love, choose whom you want to marry, is not, it should be, but it's not a universal right for all. Now, in the City Hall of Love, Close Up City Hall of Love, which is in Decentraland, Close Up created an immersive experience where couples of all kinds can immortalize their love on blockchain, mint their own NFT marriage certificates, and importantly, also celebrate with guests. You guys feel absolutely free to clap. And I can only see that the youngsters are clapping in the room. I know you all can relate to Close Up much more. Yeah, the last one I want to talk about is how do you design for Metaverse? Yeah, so I've answered the question of why. I've talked about purpose. I've talked about being authentic. And now I'm talking about designing. Now, if you want to make Metaverse a true representation of your real world, we need to design for it. As consumers seek experience virtually, we need to create immersive worlds for them. And Ucoinvilla is a wonderful initiative by Unilever in Philippines. Now, this is a business I used to run more than a decade back, and it is one of our most creative businesses. Now, Ucoin is designed to make data acquisition and consumer engagement very rewarding. We reward consumers for sharing the data by interacting with channels that lets them earn Ucoins. They can exchange it for rewards, ranging from discounts, shopping vouchers, Grab credits, even gas vouchers. And Ucoin will, your avatar can shop for 3D renders of products on futuristic shelves, attend a concert in Metaverse, or enter a virtual village, or visit the Baby Dove Real Moms Villages Care Cafe for parenting communities and the Pond Summer Escape, which offers skincare tips and rewards on a virtual holiday and virtual rewards through Ucoins. It's not a real world, I know it, but this is the shape of things to come. So let me now talk about Metaverse. Pardon me, Metaverse for good. Now, it is our responsibility, to ensure that Metaverse is safe for use for our children and for the elderly. Now, we have to ensure that we make Metaverse better for people and our consumers. But businesses should have a very strong sense of responsibility towards data privacy, safe content, and very importantly, safe transactions. Now, a better governance stack on the Metaverse begins with privacy literacy, when you collect data, when you use data, when you leverage data, transparent open ledgers on the blockchain, defy the traditional rules of data privacy, and they therefore need very stringent controls, or certainly I would say not controls, principles of usage, so that from an ethical standpoint, they can stand up to the highest quality of scrutiny, whether it is from data collection, whether it is from privacy compliance, or from technology. The other important bit is equity, diversity, and inclusion. It must be maintained in Metaverse. You wouldn't want to create another set of stereotypes, another set of non-equity, another set of discrimination, and all these are challenges, but will have to be faced. And we will again, going back to the first principle, put people first. Safety, suitability, what is suitable for children, what is not suitable for children. And design Metaverse so that it can stand up to ethics, inclusion, and safety, which is coded right from the beginning. Now, this is a subject which my good friend Sudhakar talked about, leadership. Now, this is, I would believe, one of the most important things when we go from a physical world to the realm of Metaverse. Now, leaders today will need to have foresight, agility, to not only start thinking about how to unlock the power of Metaverse, but also ensure they do so in a very responsible manner. Now, rise of digital brings real and virtual worlds closer together. We have to ensure that it is people-centric and planet-friendly. I'll just give you an example. Minting a Bitcoin takes as much environment footprints as 600,000 credit card transactions. So that's the flip side. But it's our job to ensure that we minimize the adverse impact on what's happening on the Metaverse's impact on the planet and on the society. Now, this will, of course, require new skills to be developed. And this is not going to be something which is going to be a sprint. It is taking off. It's just the beginning. It is indeed going to be a marathon. But we have to embrace it. We have to experiment with it. And we have to be ready for the changing world. On that note, thank you very much for listening to me.